Hey everybody, it's Matt here, and I have another family history slideshow for us. This time it's the Woodward family ancestry that goes on down Grandma Pat's lineage. So this is lots of very interesting information here that includes some ancestors in the colonial America to the American West that has our German, English, and Irish heritage. So we're going to look at great-grandma Dorothy's side of the family. So you can see great-grandma Dorothy pictured here. This is Grandma Pat's mom. And some of her ancestors, immediate ancestors, including her parents, Charles C. Woodward and Martha Mangle. Charles C. Woodward's father was Charles H. Woodward, and mother was Mary Ellen Austin. And that side of the family goes back to the United Kingdom. It has some interesting Church of Latter-day Saint history. The other side of the family, Martha Mangle, her mom, has some German roots. And we'll learn a little bit about that to get started. Dorothy was born July 30th, 1910 in Salt Lake City, Utah. And in 1931, she married great-grandpa Valentine Brown Richards. Together they had 3 children. She died April 11th, 1994 in Granada Hills and is buried in Newhall, California. Look at that sweet face. Her mom's side of the family, Martha Margaret Mangle, is the German side. Dorothy's mom, Martha, was born September 15th, 1893 in Salt Lake City, Utah, and she married Charles Clyde Woodward in 1909. She was just 16 years old. They had 3 children together. She died at 96 on April 25th, 1990 in Gresham, Oregon, and is buried in Glendale, California. Edward John Mangle, her father, is from Germany. He was born May 16th, 1862 in Lower Saxony. He was a farmer, married her mother, Matilda, I don't know how to pronounce the last name, let's say Tag, and together they immigrated in 1887. Together they had 9 children, including Martha, and he died in 1923, Salt Lake City, Utah. This photo here is an AI depiction of a German family from Lower Saxony at that time. Matilda, born August 8th, 1862 in Germany, married Edward and is Dorothy's grandmother. She died in 1927 in Ogden, Utah. And I love this sweet picture of her that we found through the Ancestry.com. And you can see a picture of Ogden, Utah back in the day. So the German immigration context. So our family roots go back to northern Germany on this side. Many northern Germans immigrated around this time due to economic pressures, and some later joined the LDS communities in Utah. The Mangle-Taj line was part of this movement. I'll explain as we get into the Woodward side. So the Woodward side of the family has some Latter-day Saint history and roots that go back to the United Kingdom. Charles Clyde Woodward, Grandma Dorothy's father, was born in 1887 in Salt Lake City, Utah. They had 3 children, and he was a woodworker for Lockheed Aircraft Corporation. I thought that was very interesting because he must have been working for Lockheed when they just started. As a woodworker, makes you wonder, was he making wooden planes? Anyways, he died in 1954 in Pacoima and is buried in Glendale. His father was Charles Hiram Woodward. This is an actual picture of him here. Look at that beard. He was born 1827 in Brownville, New York, was a carpenter, and pretty interesting history here, and it's a little complex. There might have been some polygamy because I had a hard time nailing down exactly who his wife was, when, and there was even a third woman somewhere in there that I couldn't quite figure out how she fit in. But from what I gather, he first was married to Maria Annie Cronkite, and they had 10 children. But interestingly, and I don't know why, he turned the children against their mother. He actually sent the kids to live with the oldest son of the oldest of the 10 and made it so that they would not see their mother again. Later, he married Mary Ellen Austin, and they had one son. That one son is where our lineage is from, the mother of our Charles C. Woodward. He died in 1907 in Salt Lake City. So, Maria Annie Cronkite was not our great-great-grandmother, but Mary Ellen Austin was. She was from Sugar Creek, Ohio, the little Switzerland of Ohio, which is home to the world's largest cuckoo clock. How about that? We should all go sometime. She was born 1848, married Charles Hiram Woodward. They had one kid, as I mentioned, and is buried in Salt Lake City, Utah. So I have some very interesting ancestors to talk about. But first, a little bit about Mary Ellen's parents. James Woodward and Laura Reed. Sorry, not Mary Ellen's parents, but the Woodward side of the family. So Charles. So James was born in 1767 in Essex, England, migrated to Ontario, Canada after the War of 1812, and after his father married the housekeeper when his mom died. I guess he wasn't very happy about that. But he married Laura Reed in 1819, and they had 6 children. He was a sailor and died in 1829 in Watertown, New York. Laura Reed was born January 2nd, 1803 in Watertown, New York. Notice anything interesting about the dates there? Well, when they got married, she was 16 and he was 51. They together are the parents of Charles H. Woodward. But since James died pretty quickly, pretty young for her, she was, let's see, if they were married, she was born in 1803 and her husband died in 1829. She was only 26 when he died, so plenty of life left to live. She would later marry Hiram Zelotes Powers, who would raise Charles Hiram Woodward like his own, and Charles really adored Hiram. Hiram was 38 and she was 29 when they got married, so much closer in age. She died September 10th, 1884 in Freeborn, Minnesota. And what's interesting here is that Watertown, New York is very close to where Joseph Smith formed the Church of Latter-day Saints. And if you follow some of our family's history and lineage, if you look at where they were living at different times, they were in New York, some moved to Ontario, also Ohio, and eventually settled in Utah. This aligns with the broader LDS pioneer migration, where there was a lot of anti-Mormon hostility and people were chased out of different states for Mormonism or polygamy. So they were constantly forced to relocate until they settled in Salt Lake City, where the Church of Latter-day Saints exists today. So going back a little further, we get into some very interesting different ancestors of ours. So this is kind of all over. I don't have the exact lineage of each one mapped out. It gets pretty complicated, but these are some interesting characters that I found. First off, Laura Reed's parents, who were part of Benjamin Franklin's wife's family. Squire, pictured on the right, was her father, and Submit, pictured on the left, was her mother. Squire was born in Rhode Island in 1756 and served as a private in the Berkshire Company militia in the American Revolution, and he served under Captain Samuel Clark. His information is actually found in the Daughters of American Revolution lineage book. He died 1822 in Brownsville, New York. Submit was born in Massachusetts And together they had 16 children. She died 1831 in Watertown, New York. Great names. And here she is, the witch, accused witch, alleged witch in our family, Sarah Lord Wilson. We're all familiar with the Salem witch trials. Well, our 9th great-grandmother in Laura Reed's lineage was tried in the Salem witch trials. She was born in 1648, Andover, Massachusetts. And in 1692, along with her 14-year-old daughter, Sarah Jr., she was accused by Reverend Thomas Bernard in the infamous quote-unquote touch test. There's a whole bunch of information online to read more about. But basically, she confessed and was jailed, but later was released and cleared. Here's a cool picture of the witch trials, interpretation of it. Somebody else very interesting in our family was the Reverend Samuel Luther. He lived in the 17th century, died in 1716 in Massachusetts, and is our 9th great-grandfather. He was a prominent early figure in the Massachusetts colony, minister and militia member. So this is when colonial times, pre-revolution, pre-Declaration of Independence by over 100 years. And there's some richly documented English ancestry and royalty and nobility along Samuel Luther's line. William de Gingen was a chaplain in Lord Cromwell's army, emigrated from England, and was one of the founders of Brookhaven, Long Island. He bought some land from the Indians, was our 8th great-grandfather. Reverend Thomas Hooker was prominent in the Connecticut colony. Our 11th great-grandfather, going all the way back to 1586 is when he was born. He died 1647. But he is quoted as the father of American democracy, founded the Connecticut colony. He was a Puritan minister and colonial leader known as the Father of Connecticut, who founded the settlement of Hartford and the colony of Connecticut after disagreements with leaders in Massachusetts over voting rights, championing democratic principles by stating government's authority comes from the free consent of the people, ideas that inspired the fundamental orders of Connecticut. Robert Horne, Bishop of Winchester, going back to the family in England. 1520 is when he was born on the Woodward side, died 1579. 12th great-grandfather, and was a fanatical enforcer of conformity. He was a bishop of Winchester from 1561 to 1580, and assisted in the revision of the authorized version known as the Bishop's Bible. He was an author, had sermons, and died at Winchester Place in 1580 or 1579, and was buried at Winchester, which is the ancient capital of England, one of the most important cathedrals in Europe. Pictured here is his daughter, Rebecca Horne, our 11th great-grandmother. And finally, last but definitely not least, Lady Margaret Howard, 14th great-grandmother on the English side, born 1505, died 1571. She is the sister of Queen Catherine Howard, Henry VIII's 5th wife, and the first cousin of Anne Boleyn, Henry VIII's 2nd wife. So fascinating information there. Who would know? We would have a connection to Anne Boleyn. And with that, that concludes